The fluorescent lights of Grandview Mall flickered as Marcus Washington pushed his mop across the marble floor, the rhythmic swish of water against stone marking another ordinary Tuesday night. At 62 years old, his back ached from years of bending, his knees protested with every step, but he wore his janitor's uniform with quiet dignity. This job wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, and Marcus had learned long ago that a person's worth wasn't measured by their title, it was measured by how they treated others when no one important was watching. Tonight, that belief would cost him everything he had, and give him everything he never knew he needed. The mall was nearly empty, just 15 minutes before closing time. Marcus hummed an old gospel tune as he worked his way toward the luxury boutique at the end of the West Corridor. That's when he heard it, a voice dripping with contempt, sharp enough to cut through the quiet evening air. "I said, we're closed. Can't you read the sign? Or is that too difficult for someone like you?" Marcus looked up to see Veronica Castellano, the boutique manager, standing in her store's doorway with her arms crossed. Her perfectly manicured finger pointed accusingly at a small woman in a faded denim jacket and worn sneakers. The woman's gray hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she clutched a modest purse against her chest. "I'm so sorry," the older woman said softly, her voice trembling slightly. "The website said you were open until 9. I just wanted to buy a dress for my granddaughter's graduation. I took 2 buses to get here." Veronica laughed, a cold sound that made Marcus's jaw tighten. "Well, the website is wrong. And even if we were open, I don't think you could afford anything in here anyway. Why don't you try the discount store on 3rd Street? That's more your speed." The older woman's face flushed red, and Marcus saw her eyes glisten with tears she was fighting to hold back. Something in his chest twisted painfully. He'd seen this before. People being judged, dismissed, treated as less than human because of their appearance, their bank account, the clothes they wore. Marcus set down his mop and walked toward them, his work boots squeaking slightly on the wet floor. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said to Veronica, his voice calm but firm. "I couldn't help but overhear. The mall closes at 9. It's only 8:45. Seems to me this lady has every right to shop." Veronica whirled around, her eyes narrowing. "This is none of your business, Marcus. Go back to your mopping. When someone's being treated poorly in this mall, it becomes my business," Marcus replied evenly. He turned to the older woman with a gentle smile. "Ma'am, would you like me to walk you to customer service? They can help sort this out." The woman looked at him with such gratitude that Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Thank you," she whispered. "But I don't want to cause trouble." "You're not causing trouble," Marcus assured her. "You're just trying to buy a gift for your granddaughter. That's about the least troublesome thing I can think of." Veronica's face turned crimson with rage. "How dare you undermine me? I am the manager of this store, and I decide who shops here. And I certainly don't take orders from a janitor who probably makes minimum wage." She pulled out her phone with a flourish. "I'm calling Gerald Hutchins right now. We'll see how long you keep this job." Marcus felt his stomach drop. Gerald Hutchins was the mall's general manager, and he was notoriously protective of the high-end retailers who paid premium rent. But Marcus looked at the older woman's face, saw the dignity beneath her humble appearance, and knew he couldn't back down. "You do what you need to do," Marcus said quietly, "but treating people like this isn't right, and I won't stand by and watch it." Within 10 minutes, Gerald Hutchins arrived, his expensive suit and slicked back hair announcing his self-importance before he even spoke. Veronica immediately launched into a dramatic retelling of events, painting herself as the victim of Marcus's aggressive interference with her business operations. Gerald didn't even ask for Marcus's side of the story. "Mr. Washington, I'm disappointed. Veronica is one of our most valuable tenants. You had no right to interfere with how she runs her store." He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket, Marcus's final paycheck. "Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you out." The older woman gasped. "No, this is my fault. He was just trying to help me." "Ma'am, please," Gerald said dismissively, not even looking at her. "This doesn't concern you." Marcus felt 20 years of loyal service evaporate in an instant. No pension, no ceremony, no acknowledgement of the thousands of nights he'd kept this mall spotless. Just a paycheck and an escort to the door. He thought of his small apartment, his grandson's college fund he'd been slowly building, the medical bills from his wife's illness before she passed. But when he looked at the older woman's distressed face, he managed a smile. "It's okay," he told her. "You did nothing wrong. You have a blessed evening, and I hope your granddaughter has a wonderful graduation." As security led him away, Marcus didn't look back. He'd done the right thing. That would have to be enough. 3 days later, Marcus sat in his apartment applying for jobs online when his phone rang, an unknown number. "Is this Marcus Washington?" a crisp, professional voice asked. "Yes, ma'am. This is Jennifer Chen, executive assistant to Eleanor Price. Ms. Price would like to meet with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Grandview Hotel. A car will be sent to your address." Marcus was confused. "I'm sorry, who is Eleanor Price?" There was a pause, then something that sounded like a suppressed laugh. "Ms. Price will explain everything tomorrow. Will you be available?" Curiosity overrode caution. "Yes, ma'am, I'll be ready." The next morning, a black town car arrived at Marcus's building. The driver, professional and courteous, said nothing during the ride to the city's most exclusive hotel. Marcus, wearing his only suit, felt increasingly anxious. What could this possibly be about? He was led to a private dining room where breakfast was elegantly arranged. And sitting at the table, smiling warmly, was the older woman from the mall, but she looked transformed. Her gray hair was beautifully styled, she wore an understated but clearly expensive outfit, and she radiated an authority Marcus hadn't noticed before. "Marcus," she said, standing to shake his hand. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit down. I'm Eleanor Price." The name hit Marcus like a thunderbolt. Eleanor Price, founder and CEO of PricePoint Industries, one of the largest retail and technology conglomerates in the country. Worth billions. Her face had been on the cover of Time magazine just last month. I don't understand," Marcus stammered. Eleanor's smile was kind, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "I visit my stores and properties incognito several times a year. I wear ordinary clothes, drive an ordinary car, and see how people really operate when they don't know who's watching. It tells me everything I need to know about character, both in my employees and in the people I do business with." She poured him coffee with her own hands. "That night at the mall, I learned that Grandview isn't a place I want to be associated with. I've already terminated our lease for 3 stores. There, effective immediately. I've also ensured that Gerald Hutchins is no longer employed in mall management anywhere in this state." Marcus's head was spinning. "And Veronica, she's discovering that her reputation precedes her. I've made some calls." Eleanor's expression became serious. "But Marcus, I didn't ask you here to talk about them. I asked you here because of what you did. You risked your livelihood, your security, to defend someone you thought was powerless. You didn't know I could help you. You just knew it was right." She slid a folder across the table. "I'm offering you a position as Director of Human Dignity for PricePoint Industries. You'll train managers, visit locations, and ensure that every person who walks through our doors, customer or employee, is treated with respect. The salary is $120,000 annually, with full benefits and a pension plan. Your job will be to teach others what you already know, that how we treat people matters more than profit." Marcus opened the folder with shaking hands, tears blurring his vision. It was more than money. It was validation that kindness wasn't weakness, that standing up for others wasn't foolish. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. Eleanor reached across the table and squeezed his hand gently. "Say yes. The world needs more people like you in positions where they can make a difference." Marcus thought of his grandson, of the future he could now help secure. He thought of his late wife, who had always told him that a good heart was worth more than gold. And he thought of all the people working quiet jobs, showing quiet kindness, never knowing if it mattered. "Yes," he said, his voice strong and clear. "Yes, ma'am, I accept." As they shook hands, Eleanor smiled. "Welcome to PricePoint, Marcus. And thank you for reminding me why I built this company in the first place. To create a world where everyone is valued." Marcus Washington walked out of that hotel a different man than he'd walked in. Not because of the title or the salary, but because he'd learned that kindness is never wasted, courage is never forgotten, and sometimes the universe rewards those who do right simply because it's right. His simple act of defending a stranger had changed his life forever, proof that in a world that often feels cold and transactional, humanity still has the power to transform everything.